Aloha, Christina. Just doing another update on this new Hurricane Olivia. And I wanted you to notice just some interesting things, how the interference patterns, the microwave energy is using this to be manipulated, like all the other hurricanes. So it's interesting because it brings up itself, it starts from the warmer waters and yet then pulls in the cooler waters, which would in turn disintegrate a hurricane, because hurricanes only successfully exist in the warm waters. And you can see right here where we had a lot of interference pattern on the storm itself and a huge line coming across the islands of Hawaii, directing it to go whichever direction, I'm not sure. It was hard to see what they were doing on the Mimic. Excuse me, this is the Mimic on the next sat, because the storm is not quite in the frame of the actual satellite feed. So let's take a look at the bigger picture here so you can really see what's going on in the manipulation of these storms by the 5G microwave satellite energy. It happens here, definitely happens on the mainland of the United States, and it's just a matter of you becoming awake to it. When the storms are not present and they're not messing with the weather, you will not see these weird anomalies on the radar. But these are some real significant changes, and like I've said before, these particular lines that come through, if they were just glitches, which we now know they're not, it wouldn't change the weather pattern, and it wouldn't change the warm and cool waters, which they do. So I think those who have woken up to this understand what's really going on. I wanted to show you this. This right here happens to be just the infrared, and you can see the storm is off to the side of us, but you can definitely see some of the chemical aerosol spray to the lower right hand corner, and that they're trying to explode the outside edges of this storm. That's pretty obvious. So let's look at the low clouds and see what they are doing in the sense of the frequency of the storm, and if they're using any kind of manipulation with the satellites and the microwave energy and the isospheric heating. So I don't think I'm in the right ones. Oh, there we go. Let me just slow this down a bit, because you really can't notice this until you go frame by frame. So we're going to reduce this down. And sorry if you hear my hand on the screen. I'm just using my pretty old tablet here to do this. Okay, so let's take a look here. Let's see the aerosol spray that's going on. You can see that right there. It's that kind of grayish fuzzy lines that are going the opposite direction of the storm itself. And then we see a little bit of interference. We definitely saw interference coming across the entire map here, and let me show you that. Let's see if I can go back a couple steps so you can really understand what this is doing. When they do the radiation, and this one's some more right here, and you see those sideway lines, it's also affecting the storm itself, which you can see right here. And you feel free to look these up on your own. I want to see how bad they radiated the situation. Usually you can see the rings upon rings in the different frames. So we'll take a look. And that's pretty obvious there. Let's see, we go back one. I'm going backwards just a few frames. There we go, right there. So obviously they did hit it with the microwave energy. That's what these lines are. It's hard to really understand what these lines are doing when you see them up close like this, but we got zapped with a lot of radiation here. Kauai got zapped. Maui not so much as the other islands. Oahu for sure. And when you want to see what this really is doing, it's always good to go back to the home button and take a look at this on a larger scale, which means you want to look at it in the Pacific range, which I usually come right here and get the Northeast Pacific overview. And when you see it here, it means you'll be able to see it there. So I'm just going to skip to the frame, which I believe it's at. It's going to be going backwards a couple steps. Let's see if I can zoom this in. And I'm just looking for the indication. It's usually 1 or 2 steps off. It's a frame or 2 off from Hawaii to the Northeast Pacific, and you'll still see the same manipulation of the storm and across our atmosphere. So I know it's still sad. A lot of people are still not really awake to the facts, and they are facts, that our weather has been controlled for a very long time. And I'm here to just let everyone know it's true. And you can see these strange lines that go definitely opposite the direction that the storm would be going in. Here you see those digital lines again going sideways. And that is indication that on frame 46, which is approximately 9:11 at 14:15 Zulu time, they hit radiation across the entire Northeast Pacific. So this is interesting, what they're doing to the storm, or what they're attempting to do to the storm. I'm just going to run it slower here and just get an idea of what is happening closer to the islands. Let's give it a play. And let's zoom in down here and take a look. We saw in the mimic that they were absolutely using the microwave frequencies in the storm, and I want to see if we can see it here. Okay, so I just need to slow this down again for you to recognize something else. If you know anything about hurricanes stay in a solid circular spiral shape, and what we saw, and I'm going to slow it down even more so you can really take a look at this, they were blowing up, whether it was moisture or isospheric clouds. You will see where they're, and pay attention, you'll see here, see the storm come up, and it's kind of sort of in a position, it still looks like it's a hurricane, and then you'll see them start blowing up and adding more moisture into the storm. So you'll wait for it and you'll see it come right there. Boom. Did you see that in the center? And then they added more and they exploded that in. That right there was explosions of the man-made particles, aerosol spray into the storm. And how do you know? Because it started off as a solid kind of area, and then it goes into this weird hazy gray chemical aerosol spray. You can't make this stuff up. We've been showing evidence of this a long time. I think if I had known this was really going to be going on in my future, I would have recorded all the evidence of all the years I watched the Weather Channel and what was happening with hurricanes in my past. It was just something I was really fascinated with. So again, let's pay attention to this one more time. This is why I'm not worried about this hurricane. They're either going to blow it apart, spin it out, or do something. You have to remember the positive thing about the overthrow, and please hear me out when I say this, the only positive thing about the overthrow of the Hawaiian kingdom is the fact that if they're going to manipulate storms like you see right here, they're not going to let the storms destroy the islands. They have too many military bases on here, too much going on at Mauna Kea. So at least we know that we will be protected in a sense from their natural disasters, so far as they can control Mother Nature. Do I agree with it? Absolutely not. But sometimes you just got to look at the positive. I also want you to notice when you watch this again, you will see a, for the most part, rectangular line. You could see on the left there was a straight angle where they're trying to steer the storm a certain way. But pay attention to the bottom left corner. You're going to see where all of a sudden, after they blow up what they blow up in the inner part of the storm, you'll see a darker part come out. So here you see it, they explode these clouds into it, this aerosol spray, to maybe break it apart. And then down in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll start to see where it becomes almost a rectangular shape, where they've separated and gotten rid of that moisture. And it's pretty obvious if you pay attention to this, because a true hurricane would stay in that sphere shape, but it doesn't. It's spun out. And over on the left-hand side, right about Here you start to see that line that they're trying to do to hold it and slow it down so it won't move as fast. I think they're trying to slow the storm down at the same time as injecting the aerosol spray to, almost destroy the atmosphere and destroy the water vapor in this so that the storm can be destroyed before it goes across the islands and then becomes a tropical storm as opposed to a hurricane. So there you have it. I'm almost bored with doing these now because I know how much the weather is manipulated. What I can tell everyone is anytime you hear the warning, don't be panicked and don't be in fear. Just trust yourself and trust the animals. When you start seeing the birds fly away and you start seeing, animals going in a certain place, hiding out, making cover, going up the mountain, that's when you need to pay attention. Trust your own instincts and trust the animals with their natural intuitive instinct, and don't listen to the warnings and all the projections. I just wanted to make another note. If you look down below here, the Hawaiian Islands, you'll see a ring that comes up right about, you'll see it right there. That ring comes up right underneath the left-hand corner of the map, right below the Hawaiian Islands. Again, that was their manipulation of whatever they're doing with the storm. Never in my life would I ever imagine I would be looking at water vapor maps and see rectangles, squares, straight lines, 90-degree angles, rings, and all of this white stuff. It's certainly a bizarre world we live in, and I just wish everyone well. And, again, trust your inner instinct. No fear. Aloha.